For the first episode of Origins, we're going to start close to home, my home basically. I've just hit another milestone, the opening of my second restaurant, Nightingale. So you're going to hear all about the long and winding road that has led to this and the important people who have helped make this happen.
Look into what makes up a great dish, and you'll find a spark of inspiration, incredible ingredients from remarkable locations, and the story of a chef's journey, each of them unique. All of these elements come together in food that tells a delicious and compelling story. Join Chef David Hawksworth as he explores his region, spending time with an outstanding collection of chefs, sampling their creations and finding all about their origins.
I'm David Hawksworth. I have a Hawksworth Restaurant, Nightingale Restaurant, Bell Cafe, and the Hawksworth Young Chef Scholarship. The earliest memories of cooking, I mean, it would be basically with my grandmother, and she would do everything from scratch. It was very English, so it was very good, it was very honest, and it was delicious, but it was sometimes a little bit overcooked. You know, I spent a lot of time with her, and I connected with food. That was kind of how it all sort of started, and that's how the seed got planted in a way. I finished high school and then took some time, kind of like, okay, what am I going to do? And then I was interested in cooking, and I always worked in restaurants. You know, hopped around a few little spots, and then ended up working for some good places here in Vancouver. And then they, said, well, you should do your apprenticeship, and that's when it all sort of clicked. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do this for real now, because school just wasn't my thing. The recurring theme was that everybody I was working for was from Europe, and so I thought I have to go, and so I have an uncle who was a chef in London, and he was quite a larger-than-life character, and so I went straight over to the UK. I ended up getting a couple of cookbooks of Marco Pierre White. I looked at those books and I was like, holy, right? Like every dish was specific sauces and garnishes with everything, and everything was just stunningly perfect in every picture that I saw. I sent my resume to Marco and said, I'm going to be at this hostel in Bayswater on Monday the 7th or whatever it was. And I get in, and then they said, oh, Marco Pierre White's called for you. I was quite shocked. I had no idea what I was getting myself into whatsoever. And Marco had just opened up the canteen in Chelsea Harbor. Went down to the restaurant and got hired. Said, well, you're from Canada, you can go on the fish. Right, so, yeah. But then it went from bad to worse from there, because it was like everybody that I was working with was working in a 2 or 3 star Michelin restaurant for probably 5 years. I was fresh off the boat and had like absolutely no idea what I was doing, zero. Like the first day I was told, oh, come in tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. And when I got there at 7:45, I looked in the kitchen and I could tell that people were there for, it must have been 2 hours. There's kitchens in the UK that you don't even have to bring knives, because there are hundreds of knives in the kitchen, because people just leave their stuff and run out, right? It's not for the faint-hearted at all. Basically, I hit 30 in London, and most people, when they travel, they do a year to there. It was almost 10 years, so it was just like, I had to decide I wanted to have my own restaurant. I want to have a family, and I want to have a bit of a life. My plan was I want to have a great restaurant that could be in any city in the world, but I want it here in Vancouver. And so I went and opened up West, up on 13th and Granville, with 4 or 5 different people at top table. That was a great experience. I learned so much about business and restaurants, but we definitely didn't see eye to eye about a lot of things. I wanted to evolve as a person and as a chef. And I was kind of looking at spaces around Vancouver. Like, I want to do my own restaurant. At the Hotel Georgia, there was a place called the Georgia Bar and Grill, and that was boarded shut for years, 2 years. I said, look, I want to try and get that space. I don't know, like, why is it not open? Because it's ridiculous. The Four Seasons there, the Hotel of Vancouver's there. So it's like, how is that restaurant space not open? And a friend of mine brought in the people that had purchased the hotel just brought them in for dinner at West. And we got talking, and he was like, who are you? I haven't been here. He goes, well, we should talk. We just bought a hotel. And I go, oh yeah, what hotel is that? And he goes, well, the Hotel Georgia. I was like, well, we need to meet tomorrow morning. With Hawksworth, we wanted a restaurant that would fit in any other major city in the world. Our goal was to have something that was world-class here in Vancouver. One of our suppliers is a farm at the University of British Columbia. They invest a huge amount of time growing some top quality produce, and we're really lucky to have them nearby.
So we're an organic farm, and organically certified farm. When you're supporting organic agriculture, you're essentially creating a healthy environment for people as well.
The vegetables do taste different.
Yeah.
Right? And you think, oh, what's farming? I mean, it's just like, it's a vegetable. How could it taste any different? It was, but there is a completely different, it's a more rounded, natural flavor, and it just tastes right.
Right. So these are some of the radishes that are just ready here.
How long have they been in?
They've been in for about 4 or 5 weeks.
Wow.
So this is what we'll be harvesting from this coming week, is these radishes right here.
Yeah.
And this cultivar is called a Rax. It's just a red round radish. Hawksworth ordered this past week. I think they got some kale from right here. They got some arugula, and they got some radishes this past week from this field. Foods you see in your restaurant's patrons asking your servers where the products come from, where the produce and the meat comes from.
Well, it's a huge selling point if you can say UBC Farm strawberries or UBC Farm, like anything like that, that's gold. When you can pick something and you're having it with that day or the next day, you hardly have to do anything to it, and it tastes amazing.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of working with local farmers, is that we're picking it fresher. So like your strawberries are picked ripe instead of picked green and then ripened later on the way to the restaurant.
I mean, you've had a ton of strawberries that have been picked, and then you eat it within like 10 seconds and it's still warm from the sun. That tastes, you can't replicate that taste in a restaurant. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Hawksworth was open for about a year and a half, and then a friend of mine, Stephen Moskovich, came up and said, oh, this space at the old University Club came up, and I've loved this building since I grew up here. Well, in the space you could see that it was, it was 8,000 square feet, which is huge. Great big windows, 2 levels. I talked to Alessandro, who's our designer, and he had great visions for the space, and that we could see how impressive it could be. And my wife came up with the name of the restaurant, Nightingale. And so it all sort of really came together perfectly. Real key to success here is Annabelle, and that her PR, the way she's kind of branded everything and put everything together is what really has made this successful. When I met Annabelle, we were working. I was working for Marco Pure White. I was a head chef at L'Escargot. She was doing sales and marketing there. You work a lot of hours, and it was just, hey, let's go out for a drink. And so I, booked a dinner. So it was a pretty nice dinner. Marc Minot, 3-star Michelin chef, came in and was doing a dinner at Windows of the World in London. So pretty much from that dinner, we were being together since. We're doing good food, our service is great, but I wouldn't be where I am without how Annabelle structures everything, and she doesn't get the praise. Work-life balance, it's all or nothing. With family, you just have to just pencil it in. It doesn't always work out. I try to get my son in a really good school, and I try to, do what I can and take, nights where, spend time with him, and, it's just something you just have to kind of make happen. Cooking at home, I try to include Heston if I'm doing something. We battle it out every once in a while over food for sure. He's probably a little bit more evolved than others in food. And there's a little bit of pressure when he goes over to somebody's house. He's Hawksworth. He's very proud, right, of what we do, and that, I can see it in his face. He does kind of like it, but I'm not pushing him into doing anything like this. It's just more of, if he's enjoying it and we have a good time cooking.
We get a fair amount of seafood from a company called Organic Ocean, and right now it's in the tail end of prawn season. So Hess and I are heading out with them to do some prawn fishing.
Okay, so we're gonna go fishing, right?
We're gonna go fishing, we're gonna catch some
Where are we gonna
go? Top secret location, you know that? We're going to the ocean. We're going to the ocean.
Okay.
Yes. And hopefully there's a few prawn in the
What
trap.
everybody needs to know here is that a good fisherman is never going to give away secrets where he goes, right?
Yeah, never ask a fisherman a question, just be a lie anyways, the answer. So.
And so you were kind of like at the forefront of getting like all of Vancouver chefs and getting everybody on board to getting these prawns here and keeping them here and
turning it into the drug of choice here in Vancouver, yeah. It's been a huge success the last 10 years, Chef, as you know. We got together to start celebrating what we have here in Vancouver, these big, fat, beautiful BC spot prawns. And it's come full circle now. I mean, we can't catch enough anymore. The demand is through the roof. But, it makes sense. They're wild. They're sustainably harvested. They're delicious. It's the #1 product. So that was a good day, Chef? You got a few?
I know. I think these are gonna just go straight into the barbecue. A little bit of chili.
Whoa. That's pretty fresh.
Salt.
That's fantastic. Thanks, man.
That is the BC prawn.
Super.
Thanks for coming.
All right, take care.
Staying up on the food world is just, going and trying some different stuff. It's very, very important. Chat with a chef and sort of, find out what's making his world go around and what he's doing. You learn a lot that way, right? And just say, what's that piece of equipment? What does that do? Why are you doing this? That's super inspirational. To see Phil Scarfoni come up from, working a section at Hawksworth to running Nightingale, that's a dream for me because, it proves that what we're doing at Hawksworth is great, and that now he's running a huge team here and doing great food. So it's remarkable. Yeah.
We'll add a little spice of the prawns. We'll put the maybe a little bit of arugula on there. It'll be a
Make a vinaigrette in a bowl, and we'll go from there. Okay. I'll just put chilies and vinegar then.
These peas were so sweet this morning.
Yeah. And we should be able to get it so that they harvest it in the morning from the farm, and they're here in the afternoon.
And then Phil's got some lovely ramp butter. How'd you make the butter?
The butter. So we whip it with like room temperature butter, ramp puree, ramp leaves, lemon, salt, chilies.
Want to fire those into the pizza oven? Wait. Put a little. Those prawns were. Steve won't let me tell you where they are, but they're. If you look out that way,
yeah,
and you go up there. That's where they are, and
right.
You go right up that canal up there.
Yeah.
And if anybody lives around this area, knows exactly where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I took some of those garlic scapes from this morning, and then just put them in the bottle there. Put it in
just do additionally that.
We all like a little bit of spice here, so a nice little vinaigrette around the outside. Some of the zucchini flowers from this morning.
Nice.
We just made fresh snap peas, some pea flowers, spot prawns, some tempura zucchini flowers, nice little chili vinaigrette. Nice. It's delicious.
Yeah.
Like when we were doing a dish, we always talk about like what's got crunch and what's got some acidity, and you have all of those textures and all of those flavors and that kind of what is really brings the whole dish together, right? And that's what you do and what I do, and yeah, it's good. Awesome. You should try it. Yeah. Nice and tasty, nice and sweet.
I like the sweetness of the snap peas with the spice. It's like a dish in itself.
We could definitely have something like this on at Nightingale. Tasty. Nice job. That was fun.
Yeah.
An ideal dish, it starts with the product itself, right? And so if you've got an outstanding product, you have to do absolutely like almost nothing to it. The simplest things that you can do to that, and just like you restrain yourself. Like when you're cooking and you start off in the 20s, you need to prove to the world you can do everything. So you're putting palm souffle on, you're doing spheres, granolas, all this kind of stuff. And as you have done that and you're satisfied, I can do this, I'm confident in myself, and now it's just pulling all that back and going as simple as possible. That is the absolutely hardest thing you could ever do, because you're restraining yourself and you're just trying to let the product speak for itself. Just being very simple is extremely hard. That is the hardest thing you could possibly do. I think there's definitely something happening along, the Pacific coastline here, from California to here. We're lighter than the East Coast. It's definitely vegetable, seafood focused. That's kind of the direction that's happening. Very kind of like farm directive, this is from that farm, this is from this farm. Very honest cooking. For me, I want to see Canada get on the map of, like tourism is very big for Canada. I want to see, people fly to Canada to come to Vancouver to eat food. And that, that happens around the world. And it's happening here for sure. But it's, I want to see Canada become a real destination in the world. So that, that'll take some time for You know, to do that kind of food where people get on a plane and fly to a city, we're gonna have to work hard at that.